Dr. Aiken, you're good to go.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for our presentation and town hall meeting for the transition to 4-day instruction for our elementary school grades 4 through 6 students. We are going to take probably about the first 15 to 20 minutes to talk a little bit about some of the items that we have been discussing. This presentation is very similar to the one that we presented at the school board meeting last Wednesday, actually 2 Wednesdays ago. And then at the end of the meeting today, we'll have an opportunity for any questions that any parents or community members may have. So as I just mentioned, the Q&A will occur following this presentation. Dr. O'Black will share the guidelines for making comments or asking any questions. And we just ask that you, during the presentation, keep your microphones muted so that everyone can hear the presentation. Thank you. So we've outlined some transition goals as we look K to 6. The first is obviously making the transition to 4 days. And why are we doing that? We believe that our youngest, most vulnerable learners need to be in school, and we want them face-to-face, receiving face-to-face in-person instruction from their teachers. We also want to balance the needs of our students, the needs of our parents and guardians and community, and at the same time protect the health and safety of our school district students, our staff, and the entire community. And then the third and final piece that we've reiterated time and time again is just around providing a safe environment for all students, all staff. And that is our focus point and our top priority. So Dr. O'Black is going to share a little bit about the results of the parent guardian survey.
Thank you, Dr. Aiken. In February of 2021, we issued a survey to our families K through 12, looking at their comfort level with the transition to 4-day in-person instruction. These were Likert scale questions, so on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being not comfortable and 5 being very comfortable. The first question that we had included in the survey was, how comfortable are you with returning your child to 4-day-a-week in-person instruction while the county is still designated as being in a substantial level of community transmission? Of the 2,692 responses that we had, roughly 22% or 591 responses said that they were not comfortable with that, and upwards of 57% or 1,256 respondents said that they were very comfortable with that. The second question that we asked during the survey was, how comfortable are you with the district deviating from the CDC recommendation of 6 feet of social distancing in order to facilitate 4-day-a-week in-person instruction? Again, not comfortable, roughly 702 respondents or 26% said that they were not comfortable, and roughly 39% or 1,046 respondents said that they were very comfortable. We were looking to gather additional information on transportation. So one of the questions that we posed was, is the district transitions to 4-day-a-week in-person instruction, and understanding that 6 feet of social distancing will not be possible on our school bus, will your child be required to have district provided transportation? Roughly 55% of our families indicated that they would require district transportation, and roughly 45% indicated that they would not require transportation, so they would either drive or have their child driven to school for the remainder of the school year. And then if the district transitions to 4-day-a-week in-person instruction, of the 2 options that we had available, roughly 75% indicated that they would want to attend school 4 days per week, even if the 6 feet of social distancing could not be achieved. And roughly 25% said that they would want their child to either remain in or transition to our 100% virtual learning model. So we just wanted to summarize some of the data that we used when we were considering our transition to 4-day in-person instruction.
Thank you, Dr. O'Black. One of the questions that we receive frequently is why are we transitioning to 4-day instruction? And I touched a little bit on this earlier. We've learned a lot over the past year about the youngest learners and the importance of the direct contact with teachers. We understand that our teachers have done a phenomenal job reaching our students and working with them throughout this pandemic, but there's no substitute for that in-person, age-appropriate social interactions with their peers and the teachers. We're also seeing the research and the data showing that the spread of COVID-19 within and among elementary age students is significantly lower than that of the secondary age students. That's important with this decision. Social distancing still remains a concern, but the reality is that due from the commitment forms that we've received and the survey results of the survey, class sizes are going to be a little bit smaller, and that will allow us to socially distance to the greatest extent possible. And we'll continue to work to make sure that our students and staff are safe from that. And again, just the final point is that we truly believe that our students are safe and serve best when they are here in our school with our teachers in person in the classroom. So these are just some of the 14-day trends, active cases in the district. You guys can see the number of cases in the district at this time, 10 students, no staff members, and then a breakdown by school there. 1 active case at the high school, 2 active cases at the middle school, and 2 active cases at the elementary school. So back in January, Dr. Levine issued this statement, and it really was trying to encourage school districts to move to in-person learning, especially with the youngest learners. And at that time, Dr. Levine stated that the research was showing that the universal masking, this physical distancing, the continued mitigation efforts like hand washing and other mitigation strategies like the deep cleaning, that it's safe for the young children to return to school, specifically the elementary grade students. So as we transition to this 4-day, it's important to note that we recognize that approximately 25% of our students K to 6 are going to remain in Cohort C. And we recognize that some of these families and some of these students would prefer that they remain in Cohort C for the remainder of the school year. So it's important that we are going to continue what we've done up until this point. Nothing's going to change for Cohort C. They'll continue to engage in virtual instruction with their classroom teacher. They'll continue to use Wednesdays for a variety of different educational strategies, working with their classroom teacher and interacting and engaging with their peers, albeit virtually. So that will continue in the same model for the remainder of the school year with Cohort C. Let me see if there's anything else. This is also very helpful. We've created this model for the flexibility that it gives the school district, the families, the students, especially during periods of quarantine and isolation.
So one of the questions that we receive when talking about transitioning to 4-day per week instruction is, what will the mitigation strategies look like? So it's important to note that our students and staff will be required to continue to adhere to the universal face masking order as outlined by the Department of Health. Physical distancing of 6 feet in school cafeterias remains a requirement in order for students to remove their face coverings. So one of the important pieces to note about the school cafeteria is your child or children may not be eating in the school cafeteria itself. We are converting other spaces within each of our schools into areas where children can eat their lunches so that we can continue to adhere to that physical distancing. So spaces like libraries, gymnasiums, and classroom spaces that we're not using during our lunch periods can be used for alternate places for our students to eat their meals. And then again, just to reiterate what Dr. Aiken has already spoken about, our intent is to maintain 6 feet of social or physical distancing between individuals to the highest extent possible. It is important to note that the district will be unable to accommodate 6 feet of physical distance in all scenarios in some of our classroom spaces, in our hallways, and on our school buses. Additionally, we will be making modifications to our capacity limits on our school bus routes. They will need to increase. And once again, students will share seats. So up to 2 students can share a seat on a school bus, and up to 3 primary or elementary aged siblings will be asked to share a seat on our school buses when we transition to 4-day-a-week in-person instruction.
All right. Thank you, Dr. O'Black. Everything that we've been doing throughout the course of this year, deep cleaning, we've worked with some part-time custodians that have come in during the day, and they'll continue. We are also doing some deep cleaning on the weekends and also on Wednesdays. That will continue. There's a tremendous amount of work that's done during the day too, in the cafeteria, the bathrooms, the hallways, the classrooms. We're going to continue using those hospital-grade electrostatic sprayers to clean. So this has been a tremendous opportunity for our custodial maintenance staff, and they've done a tremendous job thus far, and we will continue that as we transition with the 4-day instruction. So it's important to note, we also get this question a lot about masks, face coverings, and what are the safety protocol. And one of the things that we've talked extensively about is the importance of the face coverings. As Dr. O'Black just mentioned a minute ago there, we recognize that it's going to be impossible on the school bus, in some of the classroom spaces, hallways, to maintain that 6 feet of social distance. And that's one of the reasons why the face coverings are so important. Up to this point, we've had a tremendous amount of success with our staff and students. And we are going to continue to educate and work with our staff, work with our students on the importance of maintaining the universal face covering order, or adhering to the universal face covering order. We also recognize there are times when students need a mask break, and our teachers are going to work those mask breaks in. We also recognize that there are times when students are eating, and we will ensure that our students are 6 feet apart when they are unmasked and eating in the cafeteria or other spaces around the schools. So in each of the presentations this year, we've really emphasized the importance of the daily symptom screening. And I'm not going to read this chart because we've actually displayed this chart each time that we've spoken with parents, staff, multiple communications this year. But we just asked that it's so important as we transition back to the 4-day instructional model to make sure that our families are adhering to these daily symptom screenings. Once again, you'll see the items in the Group A and Group B. And it's so important that you guys are doing these daily checks with your children to make sure that our students are safe and our staff safe in the schools. We recognize that there are times that unfortunately a child may come to school sick, and we work very closely with our school nurses, our principals, our administrative assistants in the front office, and all our staff working together. But together we want to work as a team to make sure that we're keeping our students and our staff safe. Another piece of this is really, as I just mentioned, our school nurses have been tremendous, and they should be commended for their work this school year and throughout this pandemic. They really work closely with the administration, with the teachers, with families, with students. They really have done a phenomenal job. If you have any questions, or you'll see the list there with anybody testing positive for COVID-19, all these different reasons, please contact your school nurse via phone or email. if any of these apply. They're a tremendous resource to our district and to our families, and we rely on them, and we want our families to rely on them as well.
So just to reiterate, in the communication that the district shared with you last week, we did provide, again, as a reminder, the guidelines that the district will be using when we opt to close schools due to transmission rates within a particular building. We're happy that Allegheny County for the second week has moved into the moderate level of community transmission. However, we will continue to monitor our cases within our buildings and make any decisions in order to issue a closure based on those counts. Specifically for the elementary school, which is a medium-sized building, one of the clarifications that we shared with families in the weekly update last week is that we will be using the number of 5, so 5 active student or staff cases within a 14-day period would necessitate a 3-day closure of that building to allow contact tracing, additional cleaning to be completed within the building. So again, if you have questions regarding the guidelines, please refer to either the district website or the weekly communication that was shared last week relative to the closing of school buildings. And then again, relative to the closing of buildings, we will continue to use the COVID-19 dashboard that is available on the district website, and that will help to guide the decision of when school closures are necessary. Each building will continue to receive emails to all of our families once a day, summarizing any cases that have been reported to the school district. It is important to note that the cases that are included within the dashboard are individuals who were in school during the infectious period. If a student has tested positive or an employee has tested positive, it will be noted in the email that they were not in school during the infectious period, and they will not be reflected in the dashboard, nor would they count towards the 14-day rolling closure, again, because they weren't in school when they had the potential to spread COVID-19. So we did want to clarify that, and we have been including that in our notification emails that we send daily.
This is the final slide of the presentation today. And just wanted to run through quickly with everybody on the call. Obviously, the parent commitment forms were mailed. We've been holding the parent and staff town halls. We held the primary meetings last week. We're doing the 2 elementary meetings this week. We've also been meeting with our staff. We met with the primary schools last week, and we're meeting with the elementary school this week. We had 2 meetings already and 1 more on Thursday just to talk through this transition, answer any questions. Parent commitment forms are due this Friday, March 5th. And then the 4-day instructional model will begin on March 8th for grades K through 3. And the 4-day instructional model will begin for students in grades 4 through 6 on Monday, March 15th. We're looking at grades 7 through 12, and we've been very pleased with some of the results in the county and the data that we've been receiving and the good news. So we're looking to at some point transition our secondary students in as well to the 4-day model.
So at this point, we'll open the meeting up to any who have any questions. If you could, please raise your hand by using the reaction tool at the bottom of your screen. And once you have been recognized, we would ask that you unmute yourself and state your name. Just as a reminder, as we have followed in all of our town hall meetings, if you have individual questions that are personal in nature, we would just ask that you direct those to your building principal or the appropriate department director. So at this point, we will open it up for any questions from anybody joining us this evening. Annie?
Hi, Ann Ryan here. I just have a question about the movement in the building. I know they move a lot in this building from class to class, and sometimes they intermingle with different kids. I wasn't sure if they will continue to stay with their homeroom for everything. Will they be mixing with students from other classes? And how will that look when they're all together? Thanks.
Thanks, Ann. This year, the elementary school has adopted um, a lot stricter movement guidelines in between classes. In fact, there's a lot more walking students from one class to the next class, and typically that's not really what's done at the 4, 5, 6 level, but just to be safe, that's been done. But they would continue to stay in the same groups and the same pods that they've been in this school year. Obviously, there'll be more students in the school now. So when they're transitioning from one class to the other, maybe instead of having 9 or 12 students in line, they're going to possibly have 18 to 20 or 22 students in line going to that next class. So they'll still maintain the same protocol that's been used this school year, and do a lot of walking students in the hallways and keeping those students in the groups that they've been in. So that will continue.
Okay, thanks. So do they stay with their homeroom the entire day, or do they mix when they go to specials? I just wasn't sure this year.
I think that they do have some mixing with specials,
Okay.
but I'd have to check on that, and just to make sure that that's correct.
Okay.
But you know that it's more confined this year than it's been in the past.
Okay. Thanks.
Our next question is from Kimberly.
Hi. I just have a really quick question. I noticed at drop pickup at the end of the day, it's kind of like a free-for-all where the kids are just kind of clumped out there. You see your car, run and get in the car. Is that going to become any more structured than it is right now? Because I'm seeing kids, with their masks down on their chins, chatting with their friends and that kind of thing. And I know they're outside, but it's just kind of a big mess compared to like the primary schools and stuff, where it seems like it's a very tidy, neat, organized environment. It takes a while, but it's ran very distanced and very clean.
Kim, obviously, with more students, it definitely is a little bit more challenging in the number of cars coming through. So that is something that
Right.
I know Mr. Miller and the administrative team, and plus the dismissal team, I know that they're very, very concerned about making sure that that process goes as smoothly as possible. So we can certainly take these concerns to Mr. Miller and his team and talk about ways that we can continue to improve this process, understanding that there's going to be more students and more parents coming through.
Right. And so there's more kids. It's going to be harder, not just the traffic situation, but just they're going to be clumped together that way.
Sure.
And more excited to see their friends. And so if there was going to be some more structure to that for not just the pandemic, but just general safety is my concern.
We have a meeting tomorrow morning with our principal group, our K-6 principal group. And so we can actually discuss this and talk about ways that we can continue to improve this process so that our students are safe, number one, and that the process goes as smoothly as possible for our parents coming through as well.
Okay, thank you.
Our next question is from the username NGOANS. Dr. Aiken, I don't have questions this evening.
Well, I just want to take a moment and thank everyone for joining the call today. If you think of a question afterwards and you didn't get a chance to ask, or or maybe you just don't feel comfortable asking the question to the larger group, don't hesitate to reach out, as Dr. O'Black mentioned, potentially to your school principal, or one of your principals, school counselor, or either of us. We are here to try to serve and support our families as well as we possibly can during this transition. And we thank you for the opportunity to interact with you today. And we look forward to this transition too. We're excited about getting our students back for more in-person learning. So